You really thought this was serious? We were just having fun. My girlfriend laughed when I proposed to her on her birthday rooftop party. Her friends filmed it for TikTok. I didn't argue. Weeks later, the full video leaked, and the internet destroyed her reputation overnight. Hey Reddit, long-time lurker, first-time poster. I'm not really the share your life online type, but I've had this sitting in my head for too long. I'm Nate, 29 now. What happened started 3 years ago on a hotel rooftop after-party for a co-worker's wedding. It was July 2022. I didn't even want to be there. My friend Kyle dragged me because he didn't want to go solo. I was sitting near the bar, half on my phone, when this girl walked in. Lena. She wasn't loud, but everyone noticed her. The kind of person who fills a room without trying. She joked with strangers, danced, and somehow ended up sitting next to me after bumping my chair. We talked about dumb stuff. How bad the wedding playlist was. Her weird fear of pigeons, fries, and milkshakes. She said that was gross. I said she was missing out. She laughed so hard I remember thinking, I could listen to that forever. Later we left at the same time, found a food truck, and shared fries on the hood of her friend's car. It felt easy, like we'd known each other for years. A week later, we were dating. That first year was smooth. We took random trips, had movie nights that lasted till morning, met each other's friends. She'd bring life to everything. I liked being the calm one to her chaos. Everyone liked her. My friends, my family, my coworkers. I honestly thought she was the one. She used to tell me she loved how steady I was. I liked how she made boring days fun. Back then, she was working in marketing. Nothing fancy, but she had ambition. When she got into PR, that's when things started changing. She began talking about brand people, influencers, event planners, people always taking photos. At first, I thought it was just part of her job. Then she started saying things like, you have to understand. This is my world now. I didn't argue. I've always believed people should grow. But little by little, it started feeling like I was watching her drift into something I wasn't part of. The phone became an issue. It was always face down, always close by. She'd smile at messages and then quickly lock it. Once or twice I'd ask, who's that? And she'd say, just work stuff, relax. So I did, but I still noticed. Everyone notices, even when they pretend not to. Around that time, she started calling me too serious. Not in fights, just casually. If I brought up the idea of moving in or planning a trip 6 months ahead, she'd say, you think too far ahead. Let's just have fun. I didn't think asking about the future meant I was rushing anything, but apparently to her it did. Then there were the small lies. Not big enough to confront her over, but not small enough to ignore. She'd say she was out near the harbor for dinner, but her story photo background looked like downtown. I asked once and she shrugged. Plans changed. No guilt, no nervous laugh, nothing. I let it slide. There were other things too, like how she stopped calling me her boyfriend in public, started saying my guy. First time, I thought it was a joke. Third time, I realized it wasn't. She'd also start scrolling while we talked, laughing at her phone mid-conversation. I'd pause. She'd say, sorry, what were you saying? After a while, I stopped repeating myself. She still had her sweet moments though. Random texts, small gifts, the I miss you kind of stuff that makes you forget everything else. I think that's what kept me there longer than I should have been. When she was good, she was great. But when she pulled away, she made me feel like I was asking for too much just by wanting honesty. One night we were watching something at her place, and her phone lit up. She laughed, typed fast, and flipped it face down again. I didn't say a word, but she caught me glancing. You're not about to get all jealous, right? She asked. I said, not really. She smiled, kissed my cheek, and said, good. I like that about you. It felt like she was testing how far she could push before I reacted. Eventually, I started writing down small things on my phone. Times, places, things she said that didn't match later. Not to trap her, just to keep myself from feeling crazy. She was already halfway out the door. I just hadn't realized she'd been planning her exit while I was still planning her birthday. Lena's 26th birthday was coming up, and she'd been talking about it nonstop for weeks. She wanted something elevated, her word. A rooftop dinner with friends, family, and her PR coworkers. She'd been trading mood boards with Maya and talking venues. I mirrored her brief so the night would still feel like hers. She called them her content circle. I barely knew them, but I knew what she meant. The people always filming everything. When she mentioned the rooftop, I already knew which one she'd pick. The hotel where we met 3 years ago. She still called it her lucky spot. So, without telling her, I booked it. I looped Maya to handle her side's guest list and logistics so Lena wouldn't trace the details back to me. I figured if she wanted a perfect night, I'd make it happen. That's when I decided I'd propose. I'd been thinking about it for months but kept hesitating. Lately, something had felt off, but I pushed the thought away. I figured maybe doing it on her birthday would remind both of us who we were before things got messy. Everyone important would be there. It would be simple, natural, just a quiet proposal surrounded by people who mattered to her. I planned everything myself, booked the private rooftop section, hired an acoustic guitarist, asked the hotel to set up warm string lights and gold table decor to match her theme. The manager told me it was a popular spot for proposals. That felt like a good sign. The ring wasn't huge, but it was custom made, a silver band with a pear-shaped diamond. Months ago, she joked she liked weird-shaped stones that looked like raindrops. I remembered that one small comment. I thought she'd be touched I did. I told Kyle, my best friend, about the plan. He helped me talk through the timing. After dinner, after cake, when everyone was still seated and calm, I'd stand up, say a few words, cue the guitarist, and ask. No dramatic speeches, just honest words. What I didn't tell anyone was that I'd be recording it. I placed a small GoPro near one of the rooftop lanterns before guests arrived. I wasn't planning to post anything. I just wanted a record. Something real. Maybe it sounds paranoid, but I'd seen what people online could do with clips. A few days before the dinner, I texted Jade, one of Lena's quieter friends. She was never the loud type, never part of the content group. I asked if Lena seemed okay lately, just to make sure I wasn't missing something. Jade took a while to respond. When she did, it was short. She's fine. Just be ready for anything. I asked what she meant, but she never replied. That line stuck in my head. I almost canceled the whole thing that night, but I convinced myself I was overthinking. The week before her birthday, Lena was glowing, always on calls, picking outfits, talking about angles, lighting, and photographers. Maya had this habit of DMing friends' exes for collab ideas. People laughed it off, but it always felt a little too cozy. Lena'd send me messages like, "You better wear something that matches my theme," followed by laughing emojis. She wasn't distant that week, just hyper-focused on making everything perfect. I figured maybe this was her love language. The day before, I barely slept. I kept checking the ring, replaying the timing in my head. I wasn't nervous about her answer. I was nervous about doing it right. Kyle called and asked, "You sure about proposing on her birthday?" Some people think that's bad timing. I told him, "She loves when the spotlight's on her. This is her night. I just want to make it better." He said, "All right, just keep your expectations real." I got to the hotel early the next evening, helped the staff set up the tables, checked the lights, made sure the guitarist had the right cue. Everything looked perfect. The weather was perfect. The GoPro's little red light blinked faintly behind one of the planters, invisible to anyone else. The night of Lena's birthday was perfect. The kind of night people post about for weeks. Warm air, city skyline glowing, string lights stretched across the rooftop. The tables were set in gold and white, candles flickering against the glass. I got there early to check everything. The guitarist was tuning quietly in the corner, and the hotel staff moved around setting up desserts near the bar. Everything looked exactly how she'd wanted it. By the time the guests arrived, the place filled with laughter and camera flashes. Her friends came first, the PR crowd, loud, dressed like they were at a photo shoot. Then her parents, my mom and sister, a few of my coworkers, and Kyle. Everyone looked happy to be there. I tried to blend in, just watching from my seat, letting her enjoy it. Lena walked in last, of course. Gold dress, heels clicking, her hair styled perfectly. Maya was right behind her, phone already recording. "Happy birthday, Queen!" someone shouted. Lena laughed, did a little spin, and said, "Okay, this looks insane." She hugged her parents, kissed her mom on the cheek, and started making rounds for photos. Every few minutes, someone would shout for a picture or a boomerang, and she'd pose with her drink and that practiced smile. I couldn't even be annoyed. This was her world. She looked happy, radiant. I sat with Kyle, watching her bounce between groups. "You ready?" he asked quietly. "Yeah," I said, just waiting for dessert. Dinner was calm. The guitarist played softly. People talked over the music. Waiters moved smoothly around the tables. Lena sat across from me, still glowing, occasionally looking up from her phone to laugh at something her dad said. I remember thinking how surreal it felt. A week ago, I was worried she was slipping away. Now, watching her surrounded by people, it felt like she was completely alive again. After dinner, the lights dimmed a little. Staff brought out the cake. White icing, gold sparkles, 26 and glowing written in cursive. Everyone started singing, phones in the air, flashes lighting her face. She laughed, covered her face like she was shy, then leaned forward and blew out the candles in one breath. Everyone cheered. As the waiter took the cake away to slice, dessert plates started coming out. That was my cue. Mine had the ring inside a small glass dome on top, exactly how I'd arranged it. When it landed in front of me, I could feel my chest tighten, but not in a bad way. I stood up, smoothed my jacket, and took a small breath. The guitarist switched songs, soft, slow. Lena looked up, confused for a second, then smiled when she saw me standing. I said, "Hey, can I have everyone's attention for a second?" The voices quieted. A few people whispered. I looked at her and started talking. My voice stayed steady. "I've known you for 3 years, and it's been the best kind of chaos I could have asked for. You've changed how I see everything. You make life louder, brighter, and I don't want that to end." So, I bent down on one knee. Gasps. Phones lifted. Maya's camera zoomed in immediately. The guitarist's song slowed to a soft strum. Then Lena laughed. A full, unfiltered laugh that echoed across the rooftop. She looked around like it was some kind of inside joke. "Oh my God," she said, still laughing. "Nate, you really thought this was serious? We were just having fun." The room froze. Even the guitarist stopped. I stayed there for maybe 2 seconds before standing up. I didn't look angry. I just stopped moving. She still had her hand over her mouth, half smiling, eyes darting toward Maya. Maya kept filming, the phone steady, a grin tugging at her face. I reached for the dome, picked up the ring, slipped it back into my pocket. I looked at Lena and said, "Got it. Happy birthday." Silence. Lena's dad shifted in his seat. My mom's face went pale. Kyle looked like he was ready to step forward, but didn't. Lena's smile faltered for a second, like she realized too late that this wasn't a bit. I gave a small nod to her parents, another to Kyle, and turned around. My steps echoed on the tiles because no one else was making a sound. I didn't stop. I walked straight to the elevator, pressed the button, and waited. Behind me, the rooftop stayed quiet. You could hear the city below, horns, faint music from the streets, but up there it was still. When the doors closed, I exhaled once. That was it. No anger, no yelling, just done. By the time the elevator reached the lobby, I'd already texted Kyle, "Pay the bill. I'm done." Kyle also grabbed the GoPro on his way out and dropped it at my place the next morning. He replied with a single, "Got it." I walked out through the hotel's side entrance, past the valet line, and into the street. The air felt heavy but clear, like everything had finally stopped spinning. I didn't call anyone. I didn't check my phone again. That night, I put the ring box on my desk, sat beside it for a minute, then slid it into the drawer. I turned off my phone, lay down, and stared at the ceiling until I fell asleep. No messages, no noise, just quiet. I woke up the next morning to over 100 notifications. Missed calls, texts, mentions. At first, I thought someone was checking on me after what happened last night. Then I opened one of the messages from a coworker. It was a link to TikTok. The caption hit me before the video even started playing. "When your situationship proposes on your birthday," posted by Maya. I pressed play. The clip started right where I stood up at the rooftop dinner. The camera was shaking like someone was pretending not to film, but obviously was. You could hear faint laughter, then my voice saying, "You make life brighter," and the crowd's quiet reaction. Then the zoom. Maya's phone locked right onto me kneeling, then on Lena. She laughed and said, "Oh my God, Nate, you really thought this was serious?" We were just having fun. People gasped in the background. Someone muttered, "Oh no." The video ended right there. Not showing me standing, not showing me walking away. Just the most humiliating 10 seconds. The clip had already passed 2 million views. Comments were everywhere. "She's brutal but honest. He's gonna remember that laugh forever. Why would he even do this at her party?" You can see his soul leave his body. By noon, there were hundreds of reposts. Reaction videos, memes, edits. The internet doesn't rest. Then the AI versions started appearing. One account posted a cleaned-up version using an AI filter that brightened the lighting and smoothed everyone's faces. The problem was it made me look like a mannequin, expressionless, with weird eye movements that glitched whenever I blinked. The comment section went wild. "Bro's face is literally fake. This looks like deep fake stuff. AI ruined this clip." Another version added background violin music and slowed it down, making it look like a movie scene. People thought that one was artistic. Some guy even used an AI voiceover that said, "And that's the exact moment he realized she was never his." Then came the debunkers. A few tech TikTok accounts started doing frame-by-frame breakdowns, pausing to show the reflection in the window where my face flickered. "See that glitch? This part's AI enhanced. The lighting doesn't match here. That's generated." But the audio's real. You can't fake her voice cracking like that. People argued in the comments about what was real and what was fake, while forgetting that the real person being discussed was still alive, sitting in his apartment trying not to throw up every time his phone buzzed. I even saw one version tagged as AI generated for dramatic effect. It still got 500,000 likes. I actually laughed at that one. If AI had a brain, it would have flagged itself for stupidity, I muttered. By evening, my mom called. She'd seen it on Facebook. I told her not to worry, that I was fine. She said, "You didn't deserve that." And that was the only thing that actually landed. I opened my laptop and started saving every version I could find. The original from Maya's account, the AI edits, the reposts with captions, anything with my face or name. I made a folder labeled Proof. It wasn't about revenge. It was about control. If this got worse, I needed records. By the end of the day, there were hundreds of files. Each one felt like another piece of evidence that people don't care what's true, only what gets clicks. Around 9 p.m., I finally checked my messages again. One name stood out. Jade. Her message said, "I saw the video. I need to tell you what really happened." I stared at it for a minute, unsure if I even wanted to know. I typed back, "What do you mean?" She replied almost instantly, "Not here. Can we meet tomorrow?" That was it. I turned my phone off again and sat there for a while. The sound of notifications kept echoing in my head, even though I'd silenced everything. Somewhere out there, people were arguing about whether my humiliation was edited or authentic, as if that made any difference. I wasn't angry yet, mostly numb. I knew whatever Jade had to say wasn't going to fix anything, but maybe it would at least make sense of it. Jade asked to meet at a small coffee place downtown, one of those quiet ones with no music and old chairs that creak when you sit. She was already there when I arrived, sitting by the window with her phone face down on the table. When she saw me, she gave this half smile that looked more like an apology. "Thanks for coming," she said. I sat across from her. "You said you needed to tell me something." She nodded, fidgeting with the sleeve of her sweater. "Yeah, I probably should have said it sooner. I didn't have proof then, and I was scared I'd blow everything up if I was wrong. Be ready for anything was the most I could say." There was a pause. I didn't rush her. Eventually, she took a breath and started talking. "It's about Lena," she said. "And the proposal. What happened that night? It wasn't random. They knew." I didn't say anything. Jade looked down at her hands. "Lena started talking to Brandon again months ago. Around March, I think. Said they were just catching up. At first, I believed her. Then she started mentioning him more often, like casually dropping his name. It didn't take long before they were meeting up. I asked, "Meeting up how?" "Dinner. Drinks. Whatever excuse she could come up with," Jade said. She told me it was innocent, just two people who used to date. But everyone knew it wasn't. Brandon still wanted her, and she liked the attention. That didn't surprise me. The part that did came next. Jade sighed. "Maya knew everything. She thought it was funny. Said you were too stable, too boring. They'd joke about it sometimes. Stuff like, 'He's probably planning next year's anniversary already.' It took me a second to process that. They made jokes about me?" Jade nodded. "Yeah, I didn't laugh. It felt wrong, but they brushed it off as harmless. Then a week before Lena's birthday, someone in your friend group messed up. She explained that one of my old group chats included Lena from a trip years ago. Someone in the chat said, 'Can't wait to see her face when you pull the ring out.' Lena saw it." "She didn't tell you," Jade continued. "She showed Maya instead. Maya said they should record it. Make it a moment. Lena told her not to take it seriously, but she didn't stop her either. I heard them talking about it. Maya literally said, 'I'll film it and make it look like one of those viral rejection clips.' I sat back in my chair. And Lena went along with that. 'Yeah,' she said. 'Whatever. He'll be fine.' Those were her exact words." Jade looked up at me, her eyes tired. "I didn't go to the dinner because I couldn't. I knew it was going to be bad. I thought maybe she'd come to her senses, but when I saw the video, I knew she didn't." For a while, neither of us said anything. I stared out the window at people walking by, holding coffee cups, laughing, living their normal days. I wondered how many of them had seen that clip. Probably half of them. Then Jade spoke again, quieter this time. "There's more." She unlocked her phone and slid it across the table. Brandon and Maya. On the screen were screenshots, messages, dates, photos. Brandon and Maya together, taken weeks before the proposal. The captions were full of inside jokes, hearts, emojis. There was even a short video of them at some bar, sitting close, holding hands. "They've been sleeping together for a while," Jade said. "Lena doesn't know yet. Or maybe she does by now. I don't really talk to her anymore." I scrolled through the messages slowly. They weren't fake. The tone was too casual, too specific. The dates matched the same weeks Lena was supposedly working late or going out with friends. I handed the phone back. Guess the joke aged badly. Jade almost smiled. Yeah, you could say that. I thanked her for being honest. She said she'd been holding it in since before the birthday, feeling guilty for not warning me. I told her not to blame herself. She wasn't the one laughing on camera. Before I left, Jade said, "You didn't deserve it. None of it. She's not who you thought she was." I nodded. She made sure I'd find out eventually. Just not the way she planned. We said goodbye. I walked out of the cafe and down the street without checking my phone. The city noise felt loud again. Car horns, crosswalk beeps, conversations blending together. I wasn't angry. I wasn't sad. I just felt done. When I got home, I opened my laptop and looked at the folder I'd made with all the videos and AI edits. For a second, I thought about deleting everything. Then I thought better of it. Instead, I added a new subfolder and named it Truth. I saved the screenshots Jade had sent me and closed the laptop. I opened my phone, scrolled through the endless notifications one last time, and started deleting everything. TikTok, Instagram, X, all of it. Gone. Then I sat down, opened my work laptop, and finished an overdue project that had been sitting untouched since the night of the proposal. When I was done, I felt something close to peace for the first time in days. No posts, no messages, no noise. Just the sound of my own typing. That night, I slept better than I had in weeks. It had been about a month since the proposal. I hadn't posted anything or said a word online. The clip was still circulating, but it was starting to fade, replaced by whatever new drama people were onto next. That weekend, Kyle convinced me to go out. "You've been locked up in your place too long," he said. "We're getting food. Real food. Not takeout." We ended up at a burger place near the harbor, sitting outside under the heaters. For the first time in weeks, I wasn't thinking about the rooftop or the video. It was just normal. We were halfway through dinner when Kyle's phone buzzed. He looked at the screen, froze for a second, then turned it toward me. "Dude," he said, "you need to see this." It was a TikTok link. The username wasn't familiar. The caption read, "Full video, no cuts, no edits. Make your own judgment." I hesitated before opening it, then pressed play. A week earlier, I'd shared the raw file with the hotel manager to timestamp the timeline for our final bill. After that, the clip wasn't only on my drive. The video started from the same rooftop angle, the one from my GPORO. Someone had leaked the original footage. There were no filters, no AI smoothing, no voiceovers, just raw sound and light. The moment played out exactly how I remembered. Me standing, speaking clearly, the crowd quieting, Lena smiling for half a second before laughing loud enough to echo. Then the line, "Oh my God, Nate, you really thought this was serious? We were just having fun." This time, you could see Maya's camera aimed directly at her, and her smirk as she kept recording. The footage didn't stop there. It showed the silence afterward. Lena's parents looking stunned, my mom's hand covering her mouth, Kyle standing halfway up like he wanted to intervene. Then it showed me calmly picking up the ring, pocketing it, and saying, "Got it. Happy birthday," and walking away. The clip ended there. Within an hour, it was everywhere. It didn't matter that it wasn't posted by me or Kyle. Once it hit Reddit and TikTok, it spread fast. People started noticing the difference. Wait, this isn't how the viral version looked. He handled that better than most people would have. The comments flipped overnight. She's straight up cruel. Now that I've seen the full video, I feel sick for him. AI creators who'd made joke edits started deleting their posts. Some even commented things like, "Didn't realize it was manipulated, my bad." For a while, I just sat there with Kyle watching the reactions roll in. The video was already at 2 million views again, but this time the tone was completely different. Kyle said, "You should post something. People would finally see your side." I shook my head. No point. The truth's out already. It'll speak for itself. We didn't post it because we didn't need to. The second you defend yourself online, you look guilty even when you're not. Silence does the job better. That night, Lena's name started trending. Not mine. Her old clips resurfaced. Comments under her post turned brutal. Some called her manipulative. Others tagged her brand sponsors. Maya's accounts went private within hours. By the next morning, half the brands Lena worked with had quietly unfollowed her. A few issued vague PR statements about respect and empathy in all content. Everyone knew who they were talking about. I stayed off my phone for most of the day, but Kyle kept sending me screenshots. He was enjoying it way more than I was. "Dude, this is justice," he said. Maybe, I replied. It's still ugly. That week, I went back to my normal schedule. Work, gym, errands. It felt strange how quickly life resets when you stop giving attention to chaos. I started cooking again, fixed the leaky kitchen tap, even visited my parents for dinner. My mom hugged me a little longer than usual and said, "You handled everything with class." I didn't have an answer for that. Jade texted me a few times, checking in. We started meeting for coffee once a week. Nothing serious, just easy conversation. She didn't bring up Lena much, but sometimes I could tell she still felt guilty for not warning me earlier. I told her to let it go. A couple of months passed quietly. The storm online had completely turned against Lena and Maya. Their content stopped getting likes. People started calling them out on every new post. Then, one night, Jade sent me a message that made me pause. "You might want to see this." It was a screenshot of another viral post. This time, not about me. Lena's ex, Brandon, had been exposed for cheating on her. Again. This time, with Maya. Someone caught them together at a hotel event, and the photos were clear. The comment sections were ruthless. Even people who once defended Lena were now saying things like, "Karma's real, and guess she knows how it feels." I didn't say anything to Jade, just replied with a short, "Figures." Over the next few days, Lena's accounts went private. Maya's disappeared entirely. It didn't make me feel happy, just done. Like the world had finally closed the chapter for me. That weekend, I reopened Instagram briefly. My account was still there, untouched since I deleted the apps. I uploaded one picture, a closed ring box on my windowsill, city lights blurred in the background. The caption, "Peace greater than drama." I turned off comments, logged out, and deleted the app again. For once, it actually felt quiet. Not empty, just calm. But 2 years had passed before I heard from Lena again. Her name popped up one morning in my inbox, an email titled "Closure." I almost ignored it. Then I opened it. It was long, paragraphs stacked like she was trying to empty her guilt into the screen. She said she'd been in therapy, that she'd learned accountability. She said she'd lost everything. The followers, the brand deals, even friends. Maya had blocked her. Brandon was gone. Every post she made still got comments like "Rooftop Girl" or "We were just having fun." At the end she wrote, "I know you don't owe me anything. I just want to apologize face to face. I need to say it out loud." I typed a short reply. "Rooftop cafe across town. Friday. Noon. Fitting place for closure." Friday came clear and warm. The same kind of sky we'd stood under the night she laughed in front of everyone. I got there early, took a seat with a view of the skyline. Same city, same view, completely different feeling. She arrived late. I recognized her before she spotted me. Same posture, but different energy. No phone in hand, no dramatic entrance, no crowd orbiting her. Just Lena, plain and quiet. "Nate," she said softly, like she wasn't sure she was allowed to say my name. "Hey." She sat across from me. No makeup this time, hair pulled into a low bun, eyes tired. When the waitress came over, she barely looked up to order coffee. For a while, neither of us spoke. She just kept tracing the edge of the napkin with her finger. Finally, she said, "You look good." "Thanks," I said. She nodded, eyes flicking between her cup and me. "I don't know where to start. I guess I deserve all of it. The hate, the comments. It's never stopped, you know? Every few months it goes viral again. People don't let it die." I didn't answer. "I lost everything," she continued. "The people who used to text me for collabs? Gone. The brands? Dropped me without a word. Even my old friends don't invite me anywhere. They don't want the attention." She laughed once. Not the same laugh from before, just empty. "I can't even go on dates. Everyone knows who I am before I sit down. I've become a joke." Silence again. Then, softly, "I think about that night all the time. How I looked at you. How I sounded. I don't even recognize myself in that video." I kept my tone even. "That version of you is still out there. Millions of people have seen it." Her eyes filled, but she blinked it back. "I know. That's why I wanted to see you. I just needed to say I'm sorry, Nate. I was awful. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I had to tell you." She wiped at her face quickly, like she didn't want me to see. Then she said, "I miss what we had. I miss who I was with you. You made me feel safe, real." I didn't see that until everything else disappeared. I don't know if it's too late, but I'd do anything to start over. Just one more chance to make it right. Her voice cracked on chance. She leaned forward, desperate, searching my face for something. Maybe softness, maybe nostalgia. I stayed calm. "You had that chance. You laughed in its face." She looked down. "I know, but I've changed. I swear I have. I'm not that person anymore. Please, Nate. Just let me show you. Her words hung in the air. She was trembling, trying not to break. Part of me almost felt sorry for her, but then I remembered the rooftop, the laughter, the months of silence after. Before I could answer, a voice came from behind. Sorry I'm late, Jade said, walking up to our table. Lena froze. She turned her head slowly, eyes widening as Jade came closer. The sun caught the ring on her hand. Small, simple, elegant. Jade smiled at me. Traffic was a nightmare. I stood up, pulled out the chair next to me and said, Lena, you remember Jade, right? Lena's mouth opened but no sound came out. Yeah, she finally whispered. Of course I do. Jade sat beside me, her tone polite, calm. Hi, Lena. Lena stared at the ring. You two are... I nodded. Engaged. It was quiet for a few seconds. Then Lena laughed, but it came out shaky. Wow, you really moved on. Jade smiled slightly. Life doesn't wait for people to catch up. Lena looked down, her hand shaking around the coffee cup. I can't even hate you, she said quietly. You were always the one who tried to stop her. You were the only decent one in that whole group. Jade didn't respond. She didn't need to. Lena took a breath, trying to steady herself. I'm happy for you, she said, voice cracking again. I really am. I nodded once. I hope you mean that. She gave a weak smile, eyes glassy. I do. I just wish I'd figured things out before it was too late. I stood up, placing a few bills on the table. It already was, Lena. She looked up at me, eyes wet. Do you ever think about me? I met her gaze. Only when someone brings up what not to tolerate. Her lip trembled. She looked away fast, blinking hard, pretending to check her phone even though the screen was black. Jade and I turned to leave. As we walked past her, she didn't move. Her reflection in the cafe window showed her sitting completely still, shoulders hunched, face pale. People around her talked and laughed, but no one looked her way. Outside, the sunlight hit my face. Jade reached for my hand. You okay? She asked. Yeah, I said. Finally. We stood by the railing, looking out over the same skyline where everything once fell apart. Behind us, I could hear a chair slide against the floor. Lena getting up to leave. She walked out a few minutes later, head down, trying not to be noticed. No cameras, no friends, no spotlight. Just her and the sound of her heels fading into the city noise. That night, back home, I opened the drawer in my room. The old ring box was still there. I'd sold the ring months earlier. The box kept the shape of it. Inside wasn't the ring anymore, just a folded note I'd written to myself long ago. Never begged to be taken seriously. I closed it, slid it back, and smiled. The rooftop, the laughter, the humiliation, all of it was over. And somewhere out there, Lena was finally learning what silence felt like. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button. It tells YouTube this video deserves to blow up, and it keeps even crazier stories coming your way.